Hello students, welcome in today's lecture of the physiology. In today's lecture of the physiology, we'll discuss the two ascending tracts. And these two ascending tracts are the flexing tracts, and second is the Gower's tract. Both of tracts will be discussed by these points: definition, origin, situation and extent, the course and termination, and the functions there. First of all, we will see the flexing tracts. The flexing tracts is the ascending tract. Flexing tract is the ascending tract which ascends from the spinal cord upward. This is also called as the direct or dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Why it is called dorsal spinocerebellar tract? Because this tract arises from the spinal cord, and ends into the cerebellum, cerebellar cortex. So that's why it's called the spinocerebellar. Why it is called dorsal? Because in the lateral white column it lies most dorsally, or dorsal to the all. We'll see exact in situation that how does they lie, but lies dorsally. So that's why it's called the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Why is it called direct? Because this fiber direct passes without crossing to the opposite, directly passes on the same side. So that's why it is called as a direct spinocerebellar tract. Now we'll discuss it. Definition we have been seen. It is one of the ascending tracts, arises from the spinal cord and ends into the cerebellum. Regarding origin, it arises from the sum of the fibers of posterior root ganglion. The ends on the posterior horn and into the Clark's column. These are the first order neuron. And from the Clark's column, the fibers are arising which are the second order neuron. They goes to the same side, doesn't cross it to opposite side. Those goes to the same side, lies most dorsally, lateral to the lateral spinothalamic tract or dorsal spinothalamic tract. Then the fibers of this second order neuron, which arises from the Clark's column of the same side, which ascends upward from upper lumbar segments, and ascends upward through the spinal cord, enters into the medulla, reaches up to the inferior cerebellar peduncle, passes through inferior cerebellar peduncle, ends into vermis of the cerebellum, which second order neuron. From here the third order neuron begins. So it is the vermis. It is the vermis of the cerebellum. Here the third order neuron begins. Second order neuron ends into vermis. Third order neuron begins, and this third order neuron ends into the cerebellar cortex. This is the course and the termination. One point remember: the situation and extent. In situation, it lies dorsally into the lateral white column of the spinal cord. Dorsally in the lateral white column of the spinal cord. It extends from the upper lumbar segment of the spinal cord up to the cerebellar cortex. At this point, the situation and the extent. Course and termination we have been seen. Again, I will explain the course and termination. Listen carefully. The first order neuron arises from the posterior root ganglion of the spinal cord, ends into the Clark's column of the same side. This first order neuron. Second order neuron begins from Clark's column, doesn't cross it to the opposite side, but it turns to laterally on the same side, lying dorsally into the lateral column, white column of the spinal cord. It ascends upwards in the spinal cord, enters into medulla oblongata, up to the level of the inferior cerebellar peduncle. Then passing the inferior cerebellar peduncle, it reaches to the vermis and ends into the vermis of the cerebellum. Here, third order neuron begins. Third order neuron begins. This third order neuron ends into the cerebellar cortex. The functions, it carries some unconscious kinesthetic impulses which are essential for the posture. Which are essential for the posture. So this is in the Fletch 6 tracts. Fletch 6 tract. They understood? So you have to write by this one: definition, origin, situation and extent, course and termination, and the functions. Course, situation and extent I have explained later in this lecture. You have to understand after the origin, or consider after the origin there. Then I hope that you understood the Fletch's tract. Then we will go for the Gower's tract. Gower's tract. Gower's tract. In this figure, I have shown the Gower's tract in the black pen, and we have been already seen Fletch's tract in the blue. So you will see Gower's tract. The Gower's tract, which is also called as indirect or ventral spinocerebellar tract. It's called indirect because it has the fibers from opposite side also there. They crosses to opposite side and then tract gets forms. That's why indirect. It is called as a ventral. This Gower tract is also called as a indirect or ventral spinocerebellar tract. Why is it called ventral? Because here it lies ventral to or anterior to the Fletch's tracts. That's why it's called as a ventral spinocerebellar tract. Do you understood? Now we'll see. Go by one. Definition: it is an ascending tract. It is an ascending tract, lies into the lateral right column of the spinal cord, ventral to dorsal spinocerebellar tract, or lies anteriorly into lateral column of the lateral right column of the spinal cord. Then regarding origin, the fibers of the Gower's tracts or the ventral spinocerebellar tracts arises from the posterior root ganglion of the both sides from the third lumbar segments. These are of the first order neuron. The fibers of the one side ends into the class column of the same side, and then it crosses to the opposite side. Lies into the lateral right column of the spinal cord, and some of the fibers, they arises from the posterior root ganglion of the same side, and ends into the class column of the same side, and then turns laterally. They doesn't cross it, they turns laterally. So thus, in origin and in composition, the Gower's tract contains both fibers or fibers from the both sides. The crossed fibers from the opposite side and uncrossed fiber from the same side. It contains majority of crossed fibers and few of the uncrossed fibers. And this lies into the lateral right column of the spinal cord, ventral to the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Then course and termination. Situation is there. Situation, they lies into the lateral right column of the spinal cord, ventral to or anterior to the dorsal spinocerebellar tract. Extend from the third lumbar segment. Up to the cerebellar cortex. Now we will see the course and termination. Regarding course and termination, the fibers of the class column, after arising, which containing the major of the cross fibers from opposite side and few of the uncrossed fiber from the same side, they ascend upwards from the third lumbar segment of the spinal cord upward, first passing through the medulla, then passing through the pons and in the midbrain, in midbrain it reaches to up to the level of the red nucleus. When it reaches to at the level of the red nucleus, it turns backward and downward, again coming downward up to the level of the superior cerebellar peduncle, and ends into the vermis of cerebellum. Here second order neuron ends and third order begins. This third order neuron from the vermis is reaches to the cerebellar cortex. Lastly, functions. It carries the unconscious kinesthetic impulses, which is required by the posture. So that is the function of the Goer's tracts. Hope that you have understood both the Fletcher's tracts as well as the Goer's tracts. So, what is difference there in their origin and the course and termination? Origin is there what? The Fletcher's tracts arises from the fibers of the same site. Here first order neuron comes from posterior root ganglion of the same site, ending in class column and going here to the laterally and ascends upward. While in Goer's tract, it composed of the fibers from both sides. The first order neuron of the opposite side ends into the class column of the opposite side, and first order neuron of the same side ends into the class column of the same side. Of opposite side second order neuron crosses, but of the same side doesn't crosses, and contains majority of these fibers which cross fibers from opposite side. These are the second order neuron. And here the Fletcher's tract goes up to the level of what? Inferior cerebellar peduncle into the vermis. Here second order neuron ends and third begins. While the Goer's tract ascends upward up to the midbrain, up to the level of red nucleus. Here it turns backward and downward, coming downward again up to the inferior cerebellar peduncle, passing through it, and that ends into the vermis. Here second order neuron begins and second order ends and third order begins. Should you understood? So both have first order neuron, second order neuron and third order neuron. And this is the tract of what? The Fletcher's and the tract of Goer. So these are the two ascending tracts. As exam point of view, these may ask you separately for the short notes. You have to prepare separately. Even though we have taken in the same figure, in same lecture, you have to write it separately. I have to remember it separately. Don't get confused here. The Fletcher's tracts have the fibers of the same side, while Goer's tract have the fibers of the both side, and it contains the majority of the fibers from the opposite side and few fibers from the same side. Do you understood? Hope it is clear. Try to understand and prepare yourself.